Okay, and then I actually ask my staff, the people who report directly to me, with 120 people, not all of them can report to me. I have 8 people who report directly to me. And so every week I ask them to send me a weekly progress report. So on Friday, or if they are off on Friday, they do it on Thursday, the last day they're there, they send me a week report that says, they answer 3 questions. And it's just really quick. The first question is, what did I accomplish this week? And I don't want their life story, right? I'm not going to read that. I want bullets. I accomplished this, 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 this. I also don't want to hear, like, I took 15 phone calls, or, I'm not, if your job is to answer the phone, I don't want to hear that you took 15 phone calls, right? I want to hear real accomplishments. Were you launching a campaign? Were you, writing a new ebook? Were you, what is it that you were supposed to do this week that you actually accomplished, right? So, I have our director of videography reports to me right now, and, I'm working with him to because he likes to say, it's in progress. I'm like, in progress does not count. I don't want to see it on that line of what you actually completed, because he will put something that's in progress for 3 weeks in a row. I'm like, no, take it off that line. If you didn't actually complete anything, nothing goes on that line. And that feels bad for people, right? So then, of course, they'll hustle to make sure there's something on that line. What did you complete this week, right? And then, what are you committed, this is important, what are you committed to completing next week? And that's where he can put his in-progress stuff, right? Anything that's still in progress. And then the last question is roadblocks. And this is helpful for me and for them. One is it's accountability for them, right? They know they have to send me this email every week. They don't want the nothing on what did you accomplish this week, right? That's their accountability. He doesn't want to put nothing in that first line. And, he knows that he's slacking off for whatever reason, because, his kids are, didn't want to go to the summer camp that he signed him up for, and so he had to deal with that, and blah, that's actually the reality. And so he didn't want to put nothing in that line, and so he put in progress. You know what I mean? Right? There's always all sorts of reasons why. But I want to know that. And this is a little accountability tool. What I also want to know for my oversight is what he thinks is important for next week. Because what I think is important and what he thinks is important is 2 different things sometimes, right? So if I get that email and I see, he has these 3 things that he's going to do next week, I can change it, right? I can say, actually, you're wrong. You need to do these things next week instead. Also, sometimes I see people who put 25 things, they did 3 things this week, and then they're going to do 25 things next week. I'm like, you're on crack, literally. Sorry. You're out to lunch. You have no sense of reality, right? Or you just think you're trying to make it up to me because you slacked off this week, and so you're going to make it up next week. Obviously not. Now next week, I actually let that slide for a week, and then I see I have 2 weeks in a row where you did 3 things in 25. And then I have a conversation with them, you're out to lunch here. You are not getting your work done, which is why you have your work all piled up. What's that problem? And then, so it's a super helpful tool with that. And then the last part is roadblocks, because this is their opportunity for excuses, right? No, this is their opportunity to say if they're running into a problem, ahead of time, right? If the project's late, if their assignment's late, it's already too late for excuses. I make a big deal about stuff being late, right? I tell them I pay you on time because we pay weekly. I pay you on time every week. I'm never late. So why do you think it's okay for you to be late with me, right? That's like such a powerful argument with them, by the way. You should totally use that every single time. Should I just be late with your paycheck next time? Because I can be late by 2 days. The law says I can, so I'll do that. No, I've never been late with their paycheck. So, but I tell them that, like, listen, I'm on time every time with your paycheck. Why do you think it's okay for you to be late? And they go, I don't think it's okay. I'm like, so you had an opportunity to tell me if you were running into problems under roadblocks, and you never said a thing. So there were no roadblocks, and you're still late? There's obviously something else happening here, right? So the roadblocks is, so if someone actually does put something in a roadblock, you need to make sure you address it. And this is part of your job, is solving people's problems, right? So, but this email, again, I like to make my life as easy as possible. So this email is super easy. It takes me 3 minutes to read the email every week from my direct reports. And then I'm sure all of them have their direct reports email them every week, and it just kind of trickles up. So make your lives easy. Have your staff email you. How many people in this room have staff? Oh, more than I thought. Awesome. Yeah, that's great.
Question.
Yeah.
Is this progress report just as good for the boss who gets to himself as a self-check?
Oh, yeah. I used to do that for myself for a long time. Yeah, I used to email it to myself. Like, this is what I did this week. This is what I'm committed to doing next week, right? And it was eye-opening. Yeah. Okay. So I went over completed notifications, which is, this is done, right? That's done. We talked about weekly progress reports. We talked about set up midway check-ins. And then the last one, this oversight is on page 9 if you wanted to follow along, is the weekly oversight appointment. So if you have someone on your team that you work very closely with, like an assistant, and I'm responsible for the marketing team, so I have the marketing manager. I work very closely with him. I have a weekly meeting with both of those people. And what I do during this weekly meeting is I go over all of their work, all of their priorities, their to-dos, and that's my weekly oversight meeting with them. And it's like it's different than that kind of email. It's more about setting them up for success for the week and making sure, the marketing manager has a whole team of people, right? That he wants to make sure that certain campaigns launch on time, and that that he has a big budget that he's spending. I want to make sure that he's not spending it incorrectly, or that the campaigns aren't launching the way I want them to launch. So we look at that every week. You know what I mean? So if you have someone that you're working very closely with, then you might want to set up a weekly reoccurring meeting with this person and then just go over their to-do list with them. And I do this with him Monday morning versus at the end of the week. Does that make sense? Now, when I managed our finance department more actively, I did that with our director of finance every Monday morning. But now she doesn't need me to do that with her. She knows what's going on, what have you, right? But the marketing manager needs that kind of attention. Make sense? So you don't need to do it with everyone only the people that need the attention that you work very closely with. Any questions about the 80-20, your 20% of the 80-20%? No? Okay. So I'm going to, before we move into the next section, I'm going to talk about what to delegate and when to delegate. This is on page 6. So I want you to think about, and we're going to do an exercise after this that will help you along. And we actually might take a break before that, because I think that would be good. So when you go to delegate, there's a few things to think about. And you might want to consider who is the right person to do this task, who has time to do this task, especially if you're like going to delegate to a vendor, right? Delegating isn't necessarily, especially for those people who, just work for themselves and don't have any staff members. You might be delegating to a vendor. You might delegate to someone in the case of like a graphic designer or a content writer or an engineer, someone who has skills that you don't have, right? Because they can do it better and faster than you. And so it's more, it's a better use of your time not to do those things, right? In a lot of ways, what you want to think about is, what is my time worth, right? What is your time actually worth? And there's an interesting equation I like to use about what my time is worth and what your time is worth. And it's something that you might not necessarily consider because, as business owners, we work for ourselves, right? We pay ourselves when there's, if we're lucky, we pay ourselves if there's, if the company makes money, or some of us actually pay ourselves with a normal salary, right? But a lot of times we're the last person to get paid, right? Not the first person. And we're the ones who are working early in the morning and late at night. And so when you look at how much money is actually going into your pocket and the number of hours you work, your hourly rate might not feel like a lot, right? So you're like, oh, it's just cheaper if I do it, right? A lot of you are in that mindset, and I want you guys to set that aside for just a minute, because there's another perspective to have, which is, I think, a better perspective. And that is, in a lot of ways, as the business owner, you are the only person that can do so many things in the business. You're the only person who can make certain decisions. You're the only person that can make certain partnerships. You're the only person that can represent the business in a certain way. You're the only person that can set the vision, the strategic direction. You're the only person that can make hiring decisions and financial decisions. All of those kind of decision type things are very high level things, right? You are the only person, your time is extraordinarily valuable. Your time, if spent wisely, can grow the business and at an extraordinary rate, right? Because if you take away all the kind of nonsense, day-to-day nonsense that eats up all your time, you do remarkable things, right? All of a sudden you work on these projects that just make your business explode, right? I mean, I know I do. It does for me. If I can just get rid of all the nonsense in my day, I'll work on something that will make such a difference in my business. And then all that other time that isn't at work, that I get to spend with my family is super valuable to me. And every time that I'm on my computer or on my phone, when the kids are around, that's costing me money too, right? So I would argue that your time is probably the most valuable time of anyone in your organization. And I like, and I can do the whole equation, and I've done it for several people before. It comes out to, depending on where you're at, between $1,500 and $2,500 an hour. I promise you, everyone in this room is at least $1,500 an hour. That's how much time you're worth right now. And if you don't value your time at that rate, and really think about it, let that sit in. If you don't actually think, my time is worth $1,500 an hour, and I'm going to do this task right now, would I pay someone $1,500 an hour to do this task? If you don't think about that every single time, you will forever be stuck at a certain level. I promise you. Because it's just a certain mind frame and a way of thinking about who you are in your business and what you're capable of. Do you know what I mean? Is this landing for you guys? Because if you see yourself as someone who is worth $1,500 an hour, all of a sudden you're doing work that you know that you should be doing, right? That is the most important work in your business. You're not out there trying to find someone like me to do the work for you that you're going to be paying that money to, right? You're doing the work yourself. You know how to do it. You're doing it. And you're giving all the other nonsense work to someone who's making, what's the minimum wage right now? I know, it's just changed. Less than that, a lot less than that. Because you can afford that. Does that make sense? You can't afford to do the nonsense work. That would just be an insane decision to make. And I know it's so hard for business owners initially to make that shift and be like, okay, because I always say the first thing you need to do is hire an assistant. I tell everybody that. The first thing you need to do is hire an assistant. And this assistant can assist you with whatever it is you need, whether you need help. This person can help you clean your house and help you build your website. Seriously. It doesn't have to, you can have someone who, I know you're laughing, but seriously, this person can if you take the salary of one full-time person, split it up. Say, okay, I'm going to have someone come for a couple hours to clean my house, and then I'm going to have someone, 10 hours a week to run errands, and then I'm going to have, you know what I mean? That would be like a full-time assistant, and then over time, you add more and more hours. Does that make sense? But the first thing you got to do is eliminate all the nonsense work out of your life. Because you would never pay anyone $1,500 an hour to do that stuff, right? Would anyone in this room do that? No. Okay, I know that that's a big shift from the way where you are today, but if you just sit with that and think about it, it will come to you, and you'll start working towards that. You don't have to go out and hire someone who makes $30,000 an hour tomorrow, but if you slowly start working towards that, it will make a big difference in your business.